Okay, good morning, everyone. Today we will talk about literary studies in English. But first thing first, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Anis Murshidah binti Shuhaimi.
And I'm Adam Hakimi bin Muhammad Zahar.
Hello everyone, my name is Nur Afrina Damia binti Rashidi.
And my name is Nur Aliana Shwa binti Ahmad Najib.
Okay, how about we start with introduction first?
So we move on to the next slide. All right. So from what we have in this slide is that literature is a vast term encompassing written, spoken, and sung expression, serve as a profound mean of artistic communication, reflecting cultural, historical, and social context. Uh, I think what I understand from this is that literature itself is something related to the people and society, and it is based on how people gather and contribute towards what they are writing and create an artwork for people to enjoy. And moving on, there are many type of literary or literature, such as uh, drama, fiction, and non-fiction. All of this is something that we basically go through as a TESOL student. Back in semester 1, we do learn about the subject GLEA 1052, Learning English Through Arts. We have some assignment that related to the literature itself. For instance, my team have to do a theatre play during the assignment.
Thank you, Adam, for the explanation. So let's move on to the literary devices.
So anyone would like to add on literary devices? Anyone?
Okay,
Um,
Afina.
okay. As for me, I think literary devices are techniques or elements that writer use to convey meaning. Creates a specific effect or enhance the overall quality of their work. Those devices add depth and creativity to literary works, helping to evoke emotions and engage readers on a deeper level. Other than that, I think literary devices are used to engaging readers as it helps contribute appeal text to capture readers' attention and fostering on a deeper connection to make content. Furthermore, it helps reader to invest their time in engagement and do interpretation on the storyline. This help encourage them to uh, invest time and interest in their story. I mean, like readers going to have like different thoughts on the storyline. Every reader is going to have like different thoughts on the storyline, so that what makes it interesting.
Thank you, Afrina. So, what about you, Nashwa?
As for me, I think literary devices function to play a role in establishing the tone of a literary work. Tone here refers to the author's attitude or emotional stance towards the subject matters, characters, or audience. For example, irony, sarcasm, humorous, and how to recognize the tone itself is by the word choice chosen by the author themselves, like the use of the language, choosing of adjectives, adverbs. Like for example, if the author use positive connotations, and then the whole um, the 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 outward, the literary work itself might create more optimistic tone. Meanwhile, if they use the negative words, then it will create something like somber or critical tone. What about you, Anis?
As for me, literary devices also work to evoke emotions in the reader and to make the writing more memorable. One of the most common literary devices used to evoke emotions in the reader is mood. Mood refers to the emotional response that the writer wishes to evoke in the reader through a story. This response can change anywhere from feelings of calm, fear, anger, or joy, depending on the literary work.
Shall we move on?
Yeah,
Before that, I
sure.
would like to add something.
Please go
Hmm.
ahead.
Yes, Adam.
So we do understand that all of the literature work have evolved from time to time. We used to go from a classical book like this, uh, Kill a Mockingbird, one of the classical English novel, to book like this, that based on drama that have been turned into a Netflix series. Oh, cannot see. 5 feet apart. 5 feet apart.
Mm,
Oh,
Yeah,
I know that
So,
one.
hmm,
I know that
so
one
I
too.
think the literature have evolved quite from the generation because our grandparent and our ancestor might not understand 5 feet apart, but they really cannot relate to what we are reading now.
Mm.
But we also cannot relate to what they were reading back then.
hmm. I agree with Adam.
Mm.
Okay, so let's move on to the next slide.
So this is my part. One of the devices that were commonly used in literature is imagery. Imagery refers to writing that invoke the reader's sense with descriptive word choice to create a more vivid and realistic recreation to the scenes in their mind. Example, the barn was very large. It was very tall. So this book, this sentence is by White in Charlotte Webb. Do you guys remember in Madam Ida classes? She
Yeah,
showed us the Charlotte Webb book, right?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when we read that sentence, we picture the barn was very large. So inside our head or mind, we do picture a large barn and also an old barn. We create that image because we have the sense of recreation while we were referring to the text. So I think it is a very interesting way for an author to convey their ideas through the usage of this device. But it is also very common because there are also graphic novel also. Most novel that include graphic is probably the Japanese manga or Korean webtoon series lah. And I
Yeah.
think English and Malay novel doesn't really include graphic that much compared to Japanese and Korean uh, what do you call literature?
Webtoon
Yes.
literature.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. O-
Nice.
Okay, how about personification? What do you think about it?
Personification. It is when an author attributes human characteristic metaphorically to non-human things. So from that we do understand that we are relating towards the living condition of well-being to unliving things. So let's say one of the examples say the hearts want what it wants or else it does not care. Uh, I think the usage by Emily Dickinson here is very deep and profound. I'm having a very hard time trying to understand this, but what I can say is that the heart is one of the main component inside a human to live. So without a heart, you cannot live. And the concept of humanity and life itself depend on a person. So it open up an interpretation of a different understanding. So you can relate to the idea of living thing with the idea of other abstract thing. That's
Mm.
my opinion.
Mm.
Oh, so moving on quite fast. This one is colloquialism. I think this is one of the thing we learned back in semester one also in language skill in social context.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In colloquialism is using casual and informal speech. Like we know we have slang and we also have colloquialism. So if it's slangs, I think mainly if we refer to any literature such as let's say P. Ramlee and so on, our Malay classic literature, it is not the same as the English literature or any kind of other cultural literature because uh, we are in a different setting and the language we use is very different. So let's say if we translate the classic P. Ramlee movie into an English, maybe some of the joke or some of the message were not very understandable toward the audience in other country. But it's also the same way around when we look at classic literature such as in the English one we have let's say maybe Charlie Chaplin or anything like that because we are not used to that kind of literature, right? So
Yeah.
I think the uses of language is also important in this part. Let's say example there, how you doing? So like Madam Ida stated, this is an informal usage of language because it's supposed to be how are you doing, right? So this is one of the major thing that we can see throughout all of the not classic literature. I think colloquialism is used mainly on mainstream media nowadays in movie and so on because we don't really see people in the 90s or 80s 70s like that speaking how you doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
times
times
change.
change.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, which is funds. So, Afrina, what's your opinion about this?
What I understand is puns are a type of comedic wordplay that involve homophones, which is different words that are pronounced the same or two separate meanings if of some its function as to create humorous or witty effect. For example, I used to be a banker, but I lost interest. This pun humorously combines the financial term interest with the idea of losing personal uh, interest in a job. I think for our generation, people tend to call it as a dad joke.
Ah,
If you guys,
Mm,
if all of you are
Mm,
aware of dad jokes, that
yes,
that trends of making jokes with this kind of puns.
yes.
So
mhm.
moving on to the next slide, I think.
all right.
Okay.
Okay, we have alliteration. Um, alliteration is the literary devices technique of using a sequence of words that begin with the same letter or sound for a poetic or whimsical effect. Okay, for example, many of Stan Lee's iconic comic book characters have alliterative names such as Peter Parker and Bruce Banner. And other than that, have you ever heard of tongue twister? Example
Yeah.
like
Yes.
example like something like Sally sells seashell by the seashore. The repeated sounds of at the beginning of each word create an alliterative effect. So what I
Ah,
understand is alliteration is kind of technique that use the different word but sounds kind of same to create
mm.
poetic and whimsical effect.
Ah, interesting. So,
Yeah.
what about analogy?
Okay, move on to analogy. Is a way writer use to compare one thing to something else to help explain a similarity that might not be easy to see. Okay, for instance, an extract like finding a good book is like finding a treasure chest. You never know how valuable it is until you open it. Okay, from this analogy, compares a discovering a valuable book to finding a treasure, highlighting the excitement and potential hidden within both experiences.
Hmm.
So I think analogy is quite similar with quotes.
Yeah.
Quotes really, yeah,
We've heard of it a lot. People use it repetitively. Yeah? Repetitively.
yes,
It's mainly used in like the start of a movie or start of a book lah, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they have this one quote at the beginning of the book or at the end of the book or something because
Yes.
yeah.
it's quite cliche lah, not gonna lie.
Depends. It depends on what kind of
It
analogy
depends.
they use.
Oh,
Yeah. Shall we move?
Um,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, I think that's it from me.
Okay. The next is hyperbole. Hyperbole
mm,
is using exaggeration to add more power to what you are saying, often to an unrealistic or unlikely degree. For example, I had to wait in the station for 10 days and eternity by Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness. Okay. Okay. Let's move on. The second is metaphor. Metaphor is a figure of speech that compares two different things to show their similarities by insisting that they are the same. For instance, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. By William Shakespeare, as you like it. Hey, this is a metaphor that compares the world to a stage. This metaphor is used to convey the idea that life is like a play and we are all the actors playing our part. So, the main difference between a metaphor and a simile is that a metaphor makes a direct comparison between two things, while a simile uses like or as to make the comparison. In other words, a metaphor substitutes one thing for another, while simile compares two things. In summary, a metaphor is a figure of speech that compares two things without using like or as, while a simile is a figure of speech that compares two things using like or as. Other than that, we also have mood. Stories moods is the emotional response that author is targeting. A writer sets the mood not just with the plot and characters, but also with the tone and aspects they choose to describe. For example, in the horror novel Dracula by Bram Stoker, the literary mood of vampire is scary and ominous, but in the comedic film What We Do in Shadows, the literary mood of vampires is friendly and light-hearted.
Alright.
So let's listen to Nasra's opinion about euphemism.
Okay, thank you. So, euphemism is a soft and inoffensive word or phrase that replaces a harsh, impolite, or hurtful one for the sake of sympathy or civility. It allows someone to say what they mean indirectly without using literal language as a way of softening the impact of what is being said. So, for example, here, euphemisms like pass away and downsizing are quite common in everyday speech. But a good example in literature comes from Harry Potter, where the wizarding community refers to the villain Voldemort as he who must not be named in fear of invoking him. So there's
Hmm.
more example. Wait, is the video? Okay. So another example here. In Disney's, sorry, wait here. For example, in Disney's The Emperor's New Groove, the character Cusco, she's the man there, has decided to fire his advisor Yzma. Cusco begins by stating directly that she is fired without using a euphemism. However, when Yzma questions his statement, he replies with a string of euphemisms for someone losing their job. So far, can you guys understand what euphemism is?
Yes, not sure.
Yeah.
Basically,
Using a more
they
polite word.
yeah, they
Huh.
don't use the literal word, so they
Hmm.
just like replace it with more soft words. I think.
Does it
Mhm.
tie in like nickname or something like that? Like you have a nickname for certain people?
Uh, not
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 really.
nickname. It's not nickname.
Hmm.
For example, they are down there. Other example, we use well off to replace the word rich, bun in the oven to replace the word pregnancy,
See.
and porcelain throne to replace the word toilet.
Hmm.
Is it like idioms?
Not really idioms.
Bun in the oven.
It's like you want to say something but you don't really say it indirectly. Okay.
Yeah, also like a
Uh,
slang. No. Is it?
Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at this video, then perhaps maybe you will understand more.
Okay.
So, there's a yeah. So in that chat box,
Hmm.
all of those the one that I underlined all means indirectly means that she is fired.
Hmm.
Get it? Okay. Then we move on then. Okay.
Okay.
The next one is anthropomorphism. It's pretty hard.
What word?
So the term anthropomorphism refers to the behavior of non-human entities, such as objects or animals, to behave like humans. This includes speaking, thinking, feeling complicated emotions, and occasionally even dressing and standing straight. Anthropomorphism is the opposite of it's different than personification. Personification, like Adam mentioned, Adam explained before, it means more to like giving human characteristic to animals or objects to create imagery. But as for anthropomorphism, it's the thing itself behave like humans.
Hmm.
So
So
is it more to verb?
hmm,
So is it more to verb like the action?
um, it's more to the character itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like the character uh, used or like in the movies, like for instance, the Beauty and the Beast movies
Mm-hmm.
anthropomorphize everyday objects like talking clocks, singing teapots. But most fairy tales have animals who behave like people. Basically, the things, the objects, animals, they behave like human. They
Oh,
themselves like
Oh.
human.
receive.
Yeah.
Understand?
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so one of we use anthropomorphism to to make the literary work itself attractive, visually appealing, and non-threatening to readers.
Mm-hmm.
And my last point is circumlocution. Circumlocution is when the writer deliberately uses excessive words and overcomplicated sentence structures to intentionally hide their meaning, their true meaning. In other words, it means to write lengthily and confusingly on purpose. Basically, they just like uh, They want to hide what they actually want to say. So they like talk a lot, something like that. So you just like
Yeah, they use
confused.
big word.
Big words, or they just like describe it like too much that you just like
Yeah.
get it. So for example, in Shrek the Third, Pinocchio used circumlocution to avoid giving an honest answer to the prince's questions. I prepared a video for this
Mm.
so you can understand more. Hello, slow.
Okay. So he's trying to like distract the king lah. Right.
Yeah, he's to avoid from answering where is
Mm.
Frank by just blabbering more and stuff. It's even like you think like what nonsense is he
Answer
talking,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
So basically the peak that
So it means
he is trying to just tell.
so sorry to interrupt, but it means that you avoid to answer the truth. So basically, you are trying to avoid being honest.
Yeah, something like that. It's like hide your true intention that you say just now.
It's like using
Yeah,
someone or avoiding something by
like
using big word.
intentionally hide their meaning. Yeah, uses excessive words and overcomplicated
Mm.
sentence structure.
Hmm.
So far so good, guys.
Yeah, so far so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, should we move to this one or how many minutes have
Let's talk
we?
about what are the hardest devices to understand first. Wanna do that?
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
Can I?
yeah, the
Oh,
hardest. I
all
think
right.
for me the hardest one is the what do you call, the one where we use human behavior uh towards non-living thing. That one is what do you call, personification. That one is really quite hard lah to use inside a literature, because I think you cannot describe something not living by using human characteristic. It is a hard way to convey your message. But nowadays, by using movies such as Nashua the Show, like Shrek and so on, and Beauty and the Beast, we also have like cartoon and stuff. We see that it is easier that way. But back then, when we use text, it is a very strange thing to read, because we don't have any graphic, and we just read things like the spoon talk or the fork poke, thing like that. So it is hard to
Mm-hmm.
understand, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree
Mm,
with you too. Like, I think personification is like you have to really think out of the box or like debrief
Yeah.
what the author wants to convey.
What about you, Anis? What do you think the hardest device for you to comprehend or understand? Literature device.
mm, as for me, uh, the challenges literary device is euphemism, because it's a new thing to me to learn about this. I rarely heard about euphemism before, so this is my first time.
Uh,
How about you, Afrina?
I agree with Adam. I think the hardest is personification because if you Like if you're like a kid, you don't like
Mhm.
personification because you need to have like really high imaginary thinking,
Mm.
because
Yeah,
you need to imagine yourself the spoon talking, the
Mm.
spoons walking.
yeah, you must be thinking like, what nonsense is that? Like, why would
Yeah.
the thing do something human, right?
Yeah, it apa macam it develop like imaginative thinking.
I think it's like normal nowadays because we are exposed to things like Disney, and we
Yeah.
have, because it is normal nowadays. But back in the 90s, 50 or something, where they don't have any animation, it is quite hard for them to understand like when they read things like the Spoon Talk, or when Beauty and the Beast, so on like that.
Yeah,
Mm.
Yeah,
and it's quite weird too.
Mm.
there's more exposure about this literary word. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Um. What literary devices do you like, if
But
that possible? That you think it is interesting, and once you read the book, and makes you want to know the whole storyline, the whole plot.
mm,
Wait, do you guys want me to stop sharing?
oh no, no, please don't.
Please don't. Okay,
Open again pun okay.
just tell me if you want to open which part. You want to
Mm,
check that. This is familiar.
the one where we must use the hyper, yeah, hyperbole.
Hyperbole.
Yeah, I think
Hyperbole or hyperbole?
hyper. How do you pronounce that?
Hyperbole.
Hyperbole.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one is quite interesting because it contrasts to the what Afrina mentioned, the pun one, because hyperbole is like using exaggeration to add more power to what you're saying. So it's like pun is like making joke out of it, but
Mm,
hyperbole is like making a serious statement out of it. Uh,
yeah.
Uh-uh.
I think if we put it in a statement or a sentence, like I have wait for too long for you. I wait 10 days. It took an eternity. So it is a serious statement. But if we use pun, like no, I just wait here for a couple of an hour. But on the serious note, you have wait for a week. So things like that, different, uh, different. What do you call? Understanding, different understanding from the
Yeah.
audience. Yeah. Some might say that one is serious, and some might say that funny.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, I see. I think besides that, what I want to add something.
Mm.
I think the opposite of hyperbole is understatement. Well, we don't have it here, but
Mm.
understatement is the opposite of hyperbole. Hyperbole. At hyperbole, we exaggerate the things. Oh, I feel an eternity. But
Mm.
understatement is something like, um, for example, you got in a car crash, and then someone asks you, "Are you okay?" Or no, it's
Mm.
as if I just got bitten by an ant.
Mm.
Ah, like that.
Mm. It's like sarcasm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like sarcasm.
not really sarcasm, but you just make it sounds
Sound like nothing serious.
Yeah. Hyperbole is like, I think, sentence or words that dramatic effect.
Mm.
It makes things more dramatic.
Mm.
Mm.
yeah.
How about you, Anis?
What about you?
As for me, from what I've read, hyperbole also helps to add humorous effect, just like um, puns, actually.
Mm,
Oh,
Mm.
How about Nasu?
so
me?
Yeah.
Uh, as for me, I like the anthropomorphism. Oh, so hard to
yeah.
pronounce. Yeah, but I really like this because maybe one thing is I love to daydream about or like fantasizing stuff like this before, like when I was a kid, right?
Mm.
Like the things around you can talk, something like that. So it's cool. And if we were going to like, we can use this when soon we get to the school. So to make it more interesting, right, with children, I believe it will make the class or the learning session more fun.
The idea of it is not creepy for you. You think like things talking to you, surrounding you in your room,
It
talking to you.
depends on what things.
Yeah. How about you, Afrina?
As for me itself, I like foreshadowing.
Mm.
Foreshadow because if you watch movie or you read novel, foreshadowing is like a hint of something that going to happen in
Mm.
a next stage. So
Mm.
I think it gives me like something, a reason to finish the movie, a reason to finish the book, because I want to know, is it true this going to happen in the future.
Mm.
So I think it creates my mind to think
Keep
about the storyline, the plot, the settings, what's going to happen to the main character or something. Yeah, it's quite
Mm.
interesting.
So that's what foreshadowing is. I've heard it a lot, but I don't really quite understand what it is.
Mm.
Yeah, if
Thank
you
you.
watch anime, I think there's a lot of foreshadowing. If you
Yeah.
watch Attack on Titan,
Yeah, like the concept of the whole show is full of plot twists. Like
yeah,
you cannot predict what gonna happen next.
yeah,
Yeah, just gonna keep thinking about it.
Yeah. So shall we move on to the next point?
yes, true.
The four one.
So my
Yeah, this one. So who wanna talk about this?
okay, alright.
You want to talk about this, Nashwa?
I I'll talk about the moral one.
We talk about the moral one. Okay. So how about yours?
I'll take literature components for primary school.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll try.
Okay, okay, okay.
Maybe
Okay,
help.
literary genre categorize works based on common characteristic and conventions,
Mm.
aiding readers understanding and engaging with different forms of literature, from the rhythmic and metaphorical language of poetry to the concise narrative of short stories, the extended complexities explored in novels, the visual storytelling of graphic novels, and the performative nature of plays. Each genre has its unique expectation themes and narrative structures.
Mm.
As what I understand, literary genre is something that is setting to set the plot, the uh elements, like the themes, like
Mm.
the main character attitude or moods.
Genre like thriller,
Yeah,
romance, all of that, right?
yeah, the
Things
core
the concept.
elements.
Mm,
Understood. Next one.
Can we move on to the next slide?
Yes.
Sure. Wait.
yeah.
Loading. Alright.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. So literature components for primary school. Okay. Literary elements akin to the building blocks of a house form the framework of any literary work. Core elements such as setting, theme, character, plot, and others provide the foundation of understanding the craft behind a piece of writing. For instance, setting establish the time and place, while themes explore philosophical questions and plots sequence events to create engaging narrative. So, did you remember what kind of literature component that we had back during our primary school? Like what kind of book that we receive other
Yeah, there's
than our textbook?
there's these two books. The one is like Gulliver Travel, the one where he meet giant people and little people.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I like that
And
one a lot.
we have another one is what that he fought that tiger and he met the wolf named Akila and so on. I remember that one.
Oh, Jungle Book.
Jungle Book.
Jungle
Oh,
Book.
yeah.
Uh, so these literature components also important to expose the children to language development and culture understanding. For instance, this book of Jungle Book introduced various story and folk tales and help the children to understand the culture. And as we can see from the Jungle Book, um, the story is set in India and it is a reflection of country's culture and tradition.
Hmm.
And a part of that, this book also teach the children to explore the relationship between humans and animals and teach us to have more appreciation through this component. Like we cannot be selfish, right? We have to take care of our nature
Mm,
also.
yes.
I think in primary school we also have that one big book where it's a lot of poem inside. Do we have that
Oh
long book,
yeah.
right? Or is it in high school? That one? I don't remember.
Uh, I think
Is
it's
it
in
blue color? Is it the blue color?
I think there's two small book and then there's this one big book. We received three book in total, right?
anthology.
Is it anthology?
Ah, yeah.
Uh,
They have,
Oh.
I believe it's something like trees in front of
Hmm.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
mm,
please.
Poison.
yeah.
It's trees, right?
Hmm.
There's trees and owls, if I'm not
And
mistaken.
inside of that book is a lot of poem, right? It's like a poem, short story,
Yeah,
and so on. Yeah.
it's very interesting, even though I don't understand a thing.
Oh.
But since they put like visual like artwork inside it, makes it more interesting. I remember the one that the girl. I don't not sure if it's a girl or a boy. The one talks about food, like lots of food. He eats a lot
Oh.
of food.
Mhm.
Afina, you okay?
I cannot
Okay, okay.
show me. What to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Moral value.
The last one I think is exploring themes and moral values in literature. Themes in literature delve into profound philosophical questions, often revealed through the lessons protagonists must learn. Common themes like love, friendship, courage, and responsibility resonate across diverse works. Literature also serves as a platform for exploring moral values, challenging readers to contemplate ethical choices, fostering empathy, and contributing to a more inclusive worldview. The presentation of moral value varies, ranging from stark contrasts in dystopian novels to humorous critiques in comedies. Basically, themes is like overall, what do you call that? Overall view of the um,
Literature.
literature work. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And moral values is what we learn based on the literature work that we read. You guys have somehow like remember any kind of moral values that you like remember a lot until today from any kind of literature work that you read or watch?
I think I have this one personal value that I learned from the book by George Orwell. It's 1984 or 1985, I don't quite remember. I think the moral of the story is that you must have a solid personal stand in doing something, and it really ties to when we enter the higher institution of education, because it is very easy to follow people and you doesn't have this one personal stand all the time. I think when you have that confident and personal stand, you are not very, what do you call that? Very strict.
Insecure.
Yeah, that what do you call that? Favoritism in doing something that is bad or wrong,
Mm,
and people cannot influence you that much if you have that solid stand. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a good one. It's a book, Adam.
yeah. This book. Wait, yeah, 1984.
Wait, I cannot see.
Wait, let me remove the background.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, this one.
Ah,
What is the book just now?
My favorite part.
Yeah,
I didn't read it, but I watched the movie.
movie. The Netflix series.
Yeah, I only watched the movie.
Is it still like the same context, or just slightly different?
I don't know. It's the book that I bought, but I never read. You have that one book, right? That you bought, but you never really have the time. It's not like you don't have the
Yeah,
time. It's like it's just sitting
yeah.
there in the book stack. Oh, so let's talk
I,
about this for the last one. I think let's talk about any favorite book or movie that you guys enjoy. Book
um,
or movies or both.
sorry for the mis-explanation just now about literary genre. Literary genre is actually the literature, the kind of literature that we have, such as novel, short story,
Mm,
poetry. Yeah, the one I mentioned just now, like the plot, setting, the theme is actually called literary elements.
Oh,
So
Ah,
sorry, I just like
understand.
to,
it's okay.
yeah.
Thank you, sis, for mentioning that.
Okay, continue, Adam. Sorry.
I think for the last discussion we can have before we conclude is that what are you guys' favorite book or movies? I think we can talk about it.
Okay.
You have to think of something.
Okay.
I don't really read books. Like, which movies?
Can start from Anis.
mm, is it must be English literary literature?
No, it's okay. It can be anything.
Because I don't really remember about um, English the
Mm-hmm.
the English one, but I
Mm-hmm.
do like to watch a movie entitled Hamka. This is an Indonesian movie, and
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
as we know, Hamka is philosophy. He is like um, someone that has high education in um, Islamic studies, but he is
Mm-hmm.
also a good writer. Hmm. So I really like his writing and movie because I don't know the language is just beautiful like that.
Yeah. So how is that help you to become a better person? How do you think that book or that series help you to become a better person?
Hmm. Maybe um by have faith in God.
Yeah.
In everything that you do, you must include God in your life so
Mm.
that everything just turn out being easy.
Hmm. Understand.
So what about you, Adam?
How about Afrina first?
Okay, Afrina.
Um, Mine is have you ever heard of Normal People? It is like a series and also book.
Oh, wait,
That
wait, wait. I have that book.
Yeah, I also have that book, but I left it in IPG.
Right. Yeah.
I like that it portrays depression and how he get out of it. I mean, like it is something that people. I mean, can. It's not like we should normalize, but
Mm.
as a human being, is
Mm.
it is like a a very kind of, I mean, it's normal for us to be sad, to be sometimes it's not like always a happy day for us or happy episode for us. Yeah, I like the way it portrays depression on the movie and how Marian, her girlfriend, I think, helps her a lot during that time and not even judge him.
Mm.
Yeah, but I never finished the series. But I like the book.
Oh, did you finish the book?
Yeah,
Oh, you finished the book.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, and how that helped you to become a better person, Frina?
Um, I think the way we portray our emotions, like
Mm.
I used to afraid of see, I used to afraid of if someone saw me crying or like um I'm not like in a good mood or what. But sometimes as a human being, as a normal people itself,
Mm.
we are allowed to express ourselves that way. So you don't have to feel weak if you're crying. It's what
Mm.
normal people do. I
Hmm.
think something like that lah.
Very deep.